I've said it time and time again. These new console generations, they come about, they get prettier, the games do, we get, better performance and things like that. But it seems like developers really kind of go all out to sort of give us the best looking games they can get. And that's a little bit, I think, different than like PCs, where we have the options to turn everything down to crank up the frame rate and stuff like that, where consoles don't really give you that kind of option. So if we're stuck with a game, I can remember PUBG being a prime example. Like on PC, you can turn down like the foliage and things like that, meaning if somebody's crawling around in the grass, and you have your foliage turned up, you think you're hidden, but on somebody else's screen who has it turned down, you're not hidden at all, and that's kind of an unfair advantage. But with consoles, that's not the key. It's like everything is kind of more on an even level and more fair. But anyway, developer just brought some interesting news about the PlayStation 5. Hey, what's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with yet another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. I really appreciate all the new subscribers, everybody that comes support me and stuff like that. You guys are absolutely amazing. It means the world to me, especially given that I almost basically had to kind of start over. A lot of people didn't understand where my line of thinking was, just thought that I was just doing stuff to hate or whatever. Not the case at all. I'm really happy that it looks like Microsoft is listening and they're actually paying attention to myself and other fans that were very critical of their lackluster console generation. And hopefully, I really do hope that that's something that they can pull off, because I would love to see that. With that being said, I really want to see exactly what these companies can do and exactly what they can not do, to be honest with you. So it really takes on a whole nother meaning with another console generation with what we're getting. Again, the biggest thing that we've heard about is the solid state drive and what it's going to be able to do. And when you ask developers about it, most people are really excited about that. And of course the ray tracing and stuff like that. That's stuff that we're getting more and more stuff as the time comes along with the ray tracing and all that kind of stuff. It really is impressive, and it tells me that they're a little bit more in tune than we might have thought. And what I mean by that is what we've been asking for the most part, a lot of us have been asking for the option for 60 frames, and it looks like we're going to get performance modes and stuff like that pretty much exactly like what we were expecting. So I am happy about that. Give people the options. If everybody's talking about options, then hey, give us the option, because I think that's the main thing that everybody wants. Give us the option to have a performance mode, or go for if you'd rather have resolution, then actually go for that, because I think that that's really important. I'm not saying I want consoles to be exactly like PCs, because that's why I buy console, because it's simpler. I don't have to worry about a lot of the issues like the foliage, like anybody can do that. I think that that's not exactly a smart way to go about things. But with that being said, I really like what I'm hearing about this stuff that's coming to the PlayStation 5, and it does sound pretty intriguing, and how the load time and stuff like that works. We've seen how already it sort of happens, and I will link this article because it's pretty impressive. According to this, they're talking about the solid state drives and working with it, and they said that they're in a unique position to actually work with it. And they also say that as for load times, they're now significantly reduced to the point where most players wouldn't notice any at all. They're optimizing games, and they already say that there's no noticeable loadings at all, but that's exactly where they're headed. There's going to be less and less, which really is an immersive situation for everybody to kind of able to experience that. Like, that's what I want to see. Again, when I talk about immersion, that's something that has really kind of really taken me to where I want to go next generation. Like, my only thoughts for next generation wasn't really a resolution or a frame rate, so to speak, but I really do think that having that immersive level, like that controller that makes you feel like you're a part of the game, and the controller is just an extension of that. Like, I think the DualSense is something that's going to really kind of help achieve that. And they're saying that even in game production, when it switches over to new consoles, players will figure out when loading is being done, even if a new wave of tricks and techniques come out thanks to the newer, faster drives. He says, I can imagine tricks that players will eventually be aware of. There are people, and once a great solution comes from one dev, others will likely copy it, thus amplifying the spotlight. I see them all now when playing games myself as a fan and as a game developer. So they're talking about when it comes to loading screens, saying going cross-gen was an easy decision, even though their game is an open-world title at first for them. He says, we made the conscious choice to keep Ours a more focused and compact open world game. We took feedback from the Sinking City open world design at heart, so the focus on their game is to make a precise experience in an open world format that feels tight and designed as one whole from the start. But again, that is a situation where you have a game that's being somewhat held back by the old gen, and they're basically kind of admitting that or whatever. Are these things going to really hold up to to what we expect? I think that's really what we're going to have to sort of listen to and kind of remind ourselves that, hey, there's some interesting things going on here. And maybe if you even listen to what Phil Spencer's saying, he's saying don't expect a huge leap like he did from like the 2D to 3D jump and stuff like that, because you're going to be a little bit disappointed. And I kind of agree with that, because if you look at even what Sony showed, I thought they showed off some really, really impressive stuff. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you also kind of notice that some games looked better, but maybe not as to the level that some people were expecting. Now when it comes to Sony, it's like those features and stuff like that. There's lots of features that the PS5 has that are much more appealing to me personally, even though I kind of want to get both the Xbox Series X and the PS5. In fact, Sony has kind of revealed through a new patent that they're trying to reduce things that were a problem for the PlayStation VR, like motion sickness, right? So in the original PSVR, it was a bit of a problem. I know for myself personally, with car and racing games and stuff like that, or even that Luge game, there was a problem with that. So now it looks like it's kind of leaked out that PSVR is going to be a thing, but they're not going to announce it for at least a couple of years. And it's going to benefit from the new processing system to provide a user who views a virtual space with a viewing experience with high entertainment characteristics. So basically, even though they're basically, okay, so this is what's going on with Sony and PSVR 2. They don't want to announce two expensive pieces of hardware at the same time, right? So the PS5 is $500. I got a feeling that it wouldn't be unfathomable to think that PSVR 2 is $500, right? That's a hefty price tag. You don't want to do that. Maybe wait for you to get an install base, get some more apps and stuff like that to come out. And so that does sound pretty much like what Sony is doing, and that's a very exciting thing. It's a very exciting time to be a gamer, particularly if you're like a PlayStation fan, because they seem to be kind of shaking a lot of things up and rattling a lot of cages, and that's a super exciting time as far as I can tell, and as far as I can see. And it's very interesting when you look at it, because more and more people are talking about VR right now as well, and that's a place where Microsoft really let down everybody. And when I say that is because they actually announced VR, and then they're like, we're not going to do it. They kind of just pulled it. So I do hope that they do bring it back, because we're hearing that maybe even Cyberpunk might be VR, might have a full VR mode, and that would be a really cool thing. Because look, I'm not really super interested in a first-person RPG, no matter how good people say it is, and it's not a knock on anything. It's just those aren't really my thing. Now, if I could be in that world in VR, I think that might be something that I would actually try. It's like I like experiencing like big colorful worlds and stuff like that. It's just something about being in there that makes it that much more interesting and fun for me. So I do hope that I can do that sooner rather than later, and that would be a big selling point if that can actually be the case. And hopefully that is the case, because at the end of the day, we're the fans and we're the ones that kind of dictate this stuff. People can go, oh, well, there's not a big enough install base. Well, I can promise you this. I mean, as far as I can tell, there is a bigger install base or a bigger want for something like VR on Xbox than there was for Bleeding Edge. So it's going to be a good mix between, you got to have your exclusives, your AAA, your AA, your indie type games. You got to have that stuff. You got to have your features, your load times. You know what I mean? You want your 4K. You want your options for the 60 frames. You want your VR options. These are all things that I think next generation is going to offer most of us, and I really do think that Sony is the one that has it pretty much down pat. First of all, for the basic fact that they've been doing this for so long, and they're more of that hardware company, right? So we have to keep that in mind just going forward, that, hey, Sony knows what they're doing. Let's take them for their word. They're going to do a good job. Microsoft, on the other hand, they do a good job. I think the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S are very solid consoles, just like the Xbox 360, the later ones were, the E's and stuff like that. So they know what they're doing with consoles. I don't know if they know as much of what they're doing in terms of the software stuff. That'll be a wait to be seen. It is going to be exciting to see what they can accomplish with that. But at the same time, it's not a situation where I'm like holding my breath going, oh man, they're going to really go all out with this, you know. So we'll have to see how it works out. I am excited to see where everything leads, though, because that's what it's all about, you know. The games and the features, the things that really distinguish yourself from the other platforms. I will link this stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Are you interested in VR? Do you think you're more interested in these exclusives, taking advantage of the solid-state drive, or do you want a mix of, you want the best of everything? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for checking out one of my videos and spending some time with me. Have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up. Game on. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.